Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Cassie, and if you are not new here, this is really gonna feel like going back to the old days. So when I started here on YouTube, I started talking about pageants and my pageant coaching, and then I quickly veered into our fertility journey. So comment down below if you were here for that. A lot of my videos are our TTC journey, and then when we were able to get pregnant with my daughter, covering every other week of my pregnancy with her. So I will link those if you have not watched them so you can get caught up with journey number 1. But today we're talking about secondary infertility. Yes, so if you are not familiar with what that means, basically it means we've had one healthy natural pregnancy, we were able to deliver, and now for unexplained reasons, it's been over a year doing all the things they say to do, and we've not been able to get pregnant. So there's no obvious glaring reasons. I have been checked, my husband's been checked. Everything is great. Everything is normal. So quick recap if you did not follow our journey. It took 9 months to get my body regulated post-birth control because that stuff messes with your body. And then 9 months of actively tracking and trying. So it was 18 months total to have my daughter. So I was like, surely now that we've had a pregnancy, it shouldn't be so hard to get pregnant the second time, right? Unfortunately incorrect. So my daughter was born in February of 2022. I had a blissful 11 months of not having a cycle. My cycle started in January of 23. So then we just spent that entire year not really preventing. I do my basal body thermometer every morning, and then I track my cycles in an app. So we would just look at it and know, okay, we maybe need to be careful this week or something like that, but we didn't really do anything to prevent, if you catch my drift. So we very well could have gotten pregnant in 2023, but we did not. So January of 2024, we started doing the ovulation testing along with the basal body thermometer and the tracking in the app. All the things, making sure we got like 2, 3, 4 tries in within a specific window. So we did that every month, and I would say I was so much more relaxed this go round because I have a daughter. I am a mom. It's like every month that goes by, it's just a little bit longer of a space between kiddos, but like I still have my baby girl at the end of the day. So it was a lot easier to go through that month after month of getting the negative pregnancy test. It wasn't until we hit month 9 where I was like, when I got that negative, I got emotional again. I hadn't experienced that the first 8 months of trying. And then when that month didn't take, I was like, man, it's gonna take a while, isn't it? So then we had month 10, 11, 12, still nothing. So I finally did go in to see my midwives who helped deliver Chloe. I went to see them December 30th because that was officially, my period had come again. I'd gone through 12 cycles and not gotten pregnant. So I met with them and we talked about everything, just like what was our process, what were we doing, how many tries we were getting, how we were tracking, all of that. And that's when I got the call of it's secondary infertility. So from there, they decided to do some blood work, which is pretty standard. The first time you go in after getting diagnosed with any kind of infertility, the first thing they're going to look at is your blood work. So we did that. Of course, everything came back normal. The only thing that was slightly elevated was my prolactin levels, which there was really no surprise there because I was still night nursing, and I also have a cyst on my pituitary gland, which causes my prolactin to just be naturally a little bit more elevated. So knowing both of those factors, they were like, okay, it was a little high, but with those two things, it makes sense. So that was really the only thing. My husband got checked. He was fine. And so they had me do an ultrasound. Went in, did an ultrasound. My sister actually does ultrasounds for a living. And she's like, feel free to send me your labs. So I did. And I think her exact words were, this is the most boring normal ultrasound I've ever looked at. So everything is good there. So then I got the call from my midwives of like, okay, everything looks great. unfortunately, you've kind of outgrown our services and you need to find a specialist. But I love my midwife, so they gave me some great recommendations. So I looked into both of them. I actually have a few friends that have gone through IVF treatments here in the Salt Lake Valley. And so I texted them all and was like, okay, here's the ones I'm being recommended. Have you guys worked with any of them? One of them, my friend, actually, her first baby was delivered using this IVF specialist. So I was like, well, that's a great recommendation. I will call them first. So I called that doctor, and the first gal I talked to was like, oh yeah, we can, I'll transfer you, but just know I think she's booked out until April. And this was like mid-January I was calling. And in my mind I thought, oh, well, April, that's not bad. That gives us 3 more months of trying like the natural way. And if it still doesn't take, then we can see them. Not a big deal. I could wait 3 months. And then I get transferred to the actual scheduler for that doctor. And I gave her the whole spiel. And I mentioned that the previous girl said not till April, and I was like, that's fine. She was like, I don't know who told you April. She's booked out through the end of May, and we're currently doing a wait list to get an appointment in June. And I was like, okay, I knew it wouldn't be quick, but 6 months to get on a wait list feels insane. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll get on the wait list. So I did. And then I went back, I like sat on that for a minute, and I was like, I don't want to wait 6 months. That is too long. And so I went back to the other recommendation, and I didn't know anyone that worked with this doctor personally, but one of my other friends had been referred to that doctor by someone that they really trusted, but for insurance reasons decided to go with someone else. So I was like, okay, well, someone has been recommended. I guess I trust that enough. So I started looking into it, and I was really liking what I was seeing about this other reproductive center. And so I got on their website, I gave them a call, and they were like, you know, fertility is a really time sensitive thing. So we strive to get everyone in within 2 weeks of their first call. And I was like, whoa, that is night and day different from the last experience that I had. So yeah, I got an appointment. I think I called on a Monday, and they were like, we can get you in next Thursday. And for me, I was like, oh, actually, I'm going to push you off just a little bit longer because, you know, with this kind of stuff, it's always about your cycle and like waiting to see if the period comes, and then you need to know if you need to go to the next step. So I was like, well, how about we wait until my next period's supposed to come? So we booked an appointment for early February. And then I was like, okay, I feel good about that. If it doesn't take in January, then we have the next appointment lined up. Well, around the same time, as I mentioned, I previously was involved in pageants. I competed at Miss USA. So a former Miss USA, Nia Sanchez, who I've met a couple times, she has a podcast. And I remembered back in the day after they announced they were pregnant with their son, their firstborn, that they mentioned that they had had struggles with infertility. But I never really got the whole, like, okay, you struggled with infertility, but now you're pregnant, like how you got from one to the other. And then after their son, they had twins. And then they just announced they're pregnant with their fourth. So third pregnancy, fourth baby. And I was like, oh my gosh. So she put out a podcast, which I will link down below. And it was all about their fertility journey. And I was like, okay, I need to listen to this because I know they used to struggle with fertility, and now she looks like a fertile myrtle, like she is having all the babies. And so I was like, I want to know her secret. So I listened to her podcast, and they had kind of like me tried everything. They had tried like just diet, exercise, cleaning up everything, getting rid of all the plastics, like all these things that the books will tell you to do. I forget if they were scheduled for, no, I think they did do IUI and it didn't take. They were going to do IVF. So just going down the typical Western medicine route, and nothing worked. And so finally they were recommended to go more like the Eastern medicine route, and they met with an fertility acupuncturist. And after 3 months of working with him, every time they get pregnant. And I know this may sound crazy to you because it sounded crazy to me. I was like, acupuncture, there's like poking your nerves with needles. How in the world does that make someone who's unable to get pregnant suddenly get pregnant in just like a matter of cycles. But it was compelling enough, and I trust the source enough that I was like, okay, this is something I am willing to look into. So I did a little Googling, and I found a fertility acupuncturist here in Salt Lake. And so I scheduled an appointment, and I had that appointment early February. But it's February 4th, and I'm going to my first acupuncture consultation. I've heard some really good things about fertility acupuncture, so I'm excited to learn a little bit more. I don't know if I'm getting poked with any needles today, but we shall see. I'm feeling pretty good about February. We're starting this acupuncture stuff. I went to a chiropractor appointment a couple weeks ago. Chloe shockingly weaned over the weekend. I mean, not really. It was more my body's choice than her choice. We're officially weaned, so I'm like, February is looking like it could be a good month, but I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know how it goes. And I went in and met with her. It was like the initial consultation. And so she sat down, she just asked some general questions. You know, we talked about the secondary infertility diagnosis, and, you know, I've had one baby, my age, health history, those sort of things. And she was like, yeah, I think you'd be a really good candidate. Something that she said that really helped me to trust her was, if it's gonna work, it's gonna work in the first 3 to 6 months. Because to me, if you were someone who was just trying to make money on the hope of a baby, you would say, like, the more appointments, the better. Just keep coming back. Like, the longer you do it, you know, you would build on it that way. So for her to be like, no, you only need to come in once a week. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the first 3 to 6 months. That was really reassuring to me. And she is not, it's so much more than just acupuncture with her. I'm sure some places you go, it's just like they poke the needles and you're done. But hers is more like fertility coaching. She has a degree in reproductive endocrinology, so like she knows her stuff. You have an in-depth consultation with her. She makes you a whole plan for like diet, exercise, lifestyle, all these things. And then you come in weekly for your appointments. And then your appointments are acupuncture to get blood flowing to all your vital organs. She does some different testing, just making sure that everything is going as it should based on where you're at in your cycle. She said you also talk very in depth in your cycle of like cervical mucus, flow during your cycle, like all these things, just to kind of gauge how your body is doing, because those are signals for how your body and fertility is functioning. She also had some other options. Obviously, she does some supplements and things. And what I was really intrigued about was red light therapy. So I had heard of red light therapy just like for beauty things, like for your face, get rid of wrinkles, whatever, like increase collagen. They actually have red light therapy that goes over your stomach, and it helps you to grow healthier eggs so that when your body does release an egg, you're giving it the best opportunity to be a viable pregnancy. So I thought that was just super fascinating. So of course, none of the fertility things are cheap. We know this, but it was about $1,200 to do like a 3-month pack, like buy it all at once. You save a little bit of money instead of going week to week. So it's like, okay, that's less than IUI, because IUI is like 2,000 plus, and that's for one cycle, one shot. And this is giving me 3 months of like holistic health, working on my body, blood flow, egg development, like all the things, 3 months for less cost. So I really liked those odds. That was about a week before our fertility specialist appointment though. So I was like, okay, I'm like ready to jump on this acupuncture train. I don't care how hippie woo-woo it sounds, like I am in, I am sold. I actually cried in that appointment, which I did not think I was going to cry. But we were just talking about all the things, and when she was mentioning, you know, it only takes a few months for most people, she's like, yeah, actually earlier today I had a gal come in that I've been working with for a couple months, and she showed me the positive pregnancy test. Immediate tears, just tears. I was like, I didn't realize my emotions were like so high in that moment, but it was just like, wow, this works. And so I was ready to jump on it, but again, we still had that other fertility specialist appointment scheduled. So I think that was for the day before Valentine's Day, actually. So that was last week, we had our fertility specialist appointment with the reproductive center. And it was nothing groundbreaking. It was nothing I feel like we didn't already know. But it was just good to talk to someone and kind of see what their game plan was. So, although I just did all the blood work and an ultrasound with my midwives, what's the first thing that fertility doctors want to do? Blood work and ultrasound. Now, I'm all about advocating for yourself, and I do when I need to. But I'm okay to go along with that just because the blood work, they're testing for more things than my regular doctor's office was looking for. Something that they're going to be doing, I'll double check this. I believe it's called AMH, but it's checking your egg reserve, like how healthy are the eggs that you have, which they do through the blood test. So that'll be really interesting to see. That's something that I have never experienced before. So we'll do that blood work. There's more blood work for Jordan as well. And then a vaginal ultrasound. So the ultrasound I had previous was external. This one's internal. And they look more closely at your follicles and things like that. Whereas before it was just like, is this a normal, healthy functioning uterus? Yes. So they go in a little bit more and they're like, how is the uterus functioning? How many follicles? How many eggs? Like getting a lot more in depth with it. So those are the next two things on the list. Third thing on the list. If you know, you know. I have to do my HSG again. If you followed our first journey, you know the HSG was horrible when I had to do that with our first journey. But that's the month we conceived Chloe, and I'm a believer, so I believe that that's when God meant for our baby to come to us. But also, I think it was because of the HSG, just like blowing the cobwebs out, making everything flow. Like maybe this is the thing. Maybe I have to get an HSG every time I want to have a baby. Maybe that's just how I am. So I have to do blood work, ultrasound, then HSG. The thing with the HSG, it's a very fine window when they can do it because they have to do it before you could potentially be pregnant. So you can only do it, I believe the broad window is between day 5 and 10 of your cycle. My fertility doctor said between 6 and 9. So there's like, 3 days, 4 days that you can actually do this test. So we had the appointment last week. I was thinking like this week, blood work, next week, ultrasound, following week, HSG, let's go. That would be like a November 30th baby. Chloe came early, maybe this one would come early. What I'm trying to avoid is a Christmas baby. I just feel like I have so many Christmas babies in my life that hate when their birthday is because it's always lumped in with Christmas. So I'm like mentally trying to avoid that for this future child, which is very silly. But I can't schedule any of these things until I get the documentation back from the fertility specialist from our appointment of like, this is what we went over, here's next steps, call to schedule XYZ. I haven't gotten that email yet. And my period's supposed to start on Friday, which starts the clock of that like day 6, 7, 8, 9 when I can do my HSG. But I have to do blood work and ultrasound before I can do that. So right now, I was like venting to my husband about this. I was like, right now it's kind of at this pace it's going, feels like we're gonna have to do HSG next cycle, which is April, which would be a due date of like December 29th. So I feel like God is just trying to tell me, stop trying to control the due date. I'll give you a baby when I'm gonna give you a baby, and you really can't control it. So, things I'm learning in the fertility journey. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I feel like I just kind of rapid fired through that.
Okay, don't mind me in my pajamas and crazy hair. But want to do a little update. So yesterday I had my first appointment with the fertility specialist and it went good. We ended up having like a snowstorm yesterday and it took way longer to get there than expected. So I couldn't do like a parking lot video like I planned to. But yeah, it went great. They did the ultrasound. I had 10 follicles on either side, which is like high normal. That's great. One on my left-hand side, she said that's the problem one, probably the one I released from this cycle because it was pretty big. My lining was nice and thick. Probably getting ready to shed because my BPT dropped this morning. So your basal body temperature goes down right before you get your period. So that is probably coming. Who knows? You know, God could do anything. So there's that. I did my blood work. I did not pass out, which I have been known to do, especially doing lots of vials of blood first thing in the morning because my appointment was at 8:30. I did make sure I ate breakfast that morning though, just to make sure. So all that went good. I'm battling a little stress at the moment. Again, don't tell me to relax. But with the HSG, so as y'all know, when I had the HSG, the cycle I had my HSG was when I got pregnant with Chloe. So clearly we know that works for us, at least it did that time. So we have a lot of hope for whatever cycle we do HSG, that could be the ticket. Well, my period's set to start any day now. That kind of starts the clock. You do HSG between days 5 and 10. That's all fine and well. We could totally do the HSG. They're open Saturday, so I could even do like maybe next weekend to make sure Jordan could pick me up if need be, if it goes poorly like it did the first time. Like that part is a non-issue. I just have to wait for my period to start to actually schedule anything. What is more of an issue is I started doing the math of like, okay, that's when I would have the procedure done. But then looking out to when I ovulate, I would be set to ovulate the weekend we're in Boise at my sister's house with a bunch of families celebrating the girls' birthdays. So if you don't know, my sister and I had babies 6 weeks apart, so we do a joint birthday party for them every year in March. So yeah, we'll be there with family for 3 days. I'm like, you know what? They understand what's going on. If we have to sneak off occasionally, that's fine. But then I get back to town and I'm home for 2 nights. And then I fly to Florida to help my friend whose son is having some surgeries done down there. So I'm helping watch her other one. So that just feels like for the HSG cycle, the one where I feel like we have the best chance of getting pregnant, we would have 2 trips back to back with a couple days in between and a couple days at the front end, potentially depending on when I ovulate. That just doesn't feel like setting us up with the best odds. March would be a November baby based on my cycles. So I was like, you know what? April, we keep pushing on like doing anything in April because that's a Christmas baby. And neither of us really want to have, I know, beggars can't be choosers. But like people that have birthdays on like December 22nd, 26th, 28th, like, and friends of mine that have kids during that time period, they're always stressed about like, how do I make their birthday special even with the busyness of the holidays? And it's such a thing. And so I've just been like, if we get to control it at all by scheduling when we do the HSG, I would rather it not be in April. But at this point, I'm like, well, March is not looking great because I don't want to waste the HSG on a month when we won't be able to get adequate tries in. So March is not looking great. Well, then this morning I decided to take a peek at April. And April falls over, as of right now, things can change because my period hasn't actually started yet. Well, as it's looking right now on a 28-day cycle, my ovulation for April would fall over the weekend that I'm in Boise by myself for a friend's bridal shower. So I would not even be with Jordan. So I'm like, I'm only there, actually, that's an idea. I was gonna go for 2 nights. I could go for 1. It's a 5-hour drive. I could drive there Saturday. I was gonna bring Chloe though, because Chloe and Olivia are best friends, and she would want to go hang out with her for the weekend. And technically I haven't even got the bridal shower invite yet. I've just been told that's the day. So I don't know if it's morning or afternoon. Maybe I can try and we could do HSG April, but then we only stay in Boise for 1 night. So I'm only away for like 24 hours. These are the ridiculous conversations you have to have with yourself. Because then we want to start, if that doesn't work, we would want to start with the acupuncture holistic medicine in May for my birthday when I turned 34. Anyways, that is the update. I'm waiting to hear back from my appointment. They said they'll put all my blood work and stuff in the portal, and then that's when I can look and see like my egg reserve. Hoping my egg reserve looks good because my follicle count was so high. That would honestly make me feel a lot better, because I can tell myself like, oh, I probably have like 6 more years of childbearing, you know? I don't have to be so stressed. I just have that, 35 equals geriatric pregnancy in my mind, and I'm like, okay, I have 1 year. So if we have 1 more, I could maybe beat the geriatric clock. But if I have a third, I will for sure be in the geriatric category. So anyways, that's what happens when you don't get to have your first until 30. So that's where we're at.
Brief little update. So far, not loving the fertility center, which is unfortunate. So I think I updated you that I went there, did the blood work and the ultrasound. Well, I was checking the portal myself just to see when the blood results came back, because I was very interested. And I don't think I updated you. The AMH, which is my egg reserve, was one of the last things to get added to my portal, and that was what I was most interested to see. So my results came back, I was at a 2.8. So initially I saw that number and I was like, oh, 2.8, that's so low. But then as I did a little more research, a healthy 30-year-old will have an AMH of 2.5 or above. And I'm 33. Maybe 34 this spring. So the fact that I'm still above 2.5, I felt like was really good, because technically I am closer to 35 than I am to 30. So my egg reserve is still that like optimal for like a healthy 30-year-old. So that was really good news. I got eggs. I think I told you from the ultrasound, my follicles had 10 on each side. So all of that is looking fantastic. So that's great. First annoyance, the fertility center has never once called me to go over these results. I literally just stayed up one night and would like look at my results on something and then Google what's the normal range for a T3 test or whatever. And so then I would look up and see what was normal. Pretty much everything was within normal, healthy range. Then I got an email this weekend, again, an email, not a phone call. And they're like, oh, hey, some of your, like, all your thyroid results were within the normal range, but a couple of them were high normal. And so we'd like to do more testing. And they're like, don't worry about it. Like, we're gonna have the lab do it with the blood you've already given. You don't have to come back in and give more blood. Like, they're just gonna do it. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, thanks for the update. Then I got an email, not a phone call, on Monday that was like, okay, well, we heard back from the lab. We showed the doctor your results, and she's recommending you go on this medication. All we need to know is what pharmacy you'd like it at. And I was like, I'm sorry. No one has even called me to go over my results, number one. I'm not taking a medication just because an email tells me to. I want to know, like, what test are you talking about? Like, which result was high? What does that mean? What is this medication? And what does it do to help me in my fertility? Like, I would like more information, please. And so I sat on it for a minute, and then I emailed them back. And I was like, before I start on any medications, I would like someone to call me to go over my results so I can be more informed. It's been about 48 hours. No one's called me. But I did get a text message from their office yesterday saying, hey, the lab let us know they weren't able to run all of the results because of insufficient blood supply. We need you to come back in so we can draw more blood. So then I was doubly annoyed because I'm like, oh, so you were already throwing this medication at me without them even being able to complete all the labs requested. So you don't even have all the information yet, and you're already trying to put me on this medication. So I'm wondering, I would love to know, like, very ready to leave the fertility people and go to the reproductive endocrinologist acupuncturist, because I'm like, she is on my level, she gets it. And then I even listened to a podcast yesterday that was like, yeah, if you do have an issue with your thyroid function, sure, you can get on a pill to like get the number where the number needs to be, but as soon as you're not on that pill, your thyroid's not functioning right. Like, you need to figure out why the thyroid is not functioning right and fix that. And I'm like, yes, exactly. These are the kind of people that I want in my corner. And the fertility center is not feeling like that for me right now. So that was really frustrating. So I was having a lot of feelings last night. But, you know, it's amazing what a good night's sleep and some time with the Lord will do for you. I'm feeling so much better today. I feel like, and I think this is very normal for being on a fertility journey, but especially someone who I feel like I'm very much advocating for myself, because I am more natural minded, but I think I find myself relying too much on the science behind getting pregnant. And I need to remember that the timing is also the Lord's. And yes, it's great to have a good diet and move my body and do all the things to help my body function at its best. But I also need to remember that I can do all the things, and if it's not the right time, then I'm not going to get pregnant. So just kind of remembering who's in charge, and it's not me. And that should be a very freeing thing. So that's, just wanted to give an update on that. Being natural minded, going through the fertility stuff is proving to be a little bit difficult. But we just have to power through, because we're doing HSG next month. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to see if the fertility place calls me back. I don't think I'm going to start on any medications. I just don't feel peace about it right now. We're going to do HSG next month. And then I'm going to start with my fertility doctor in May if the HSG doesn't work. So we'll see. And even if the HSG does work, I kind of want to find a natural minded doctor, because if the only way I'm able to get pregnant is the cycle I do in HSG, I feel like something is wrong. That shouldn't be the way it is. Like, I don't know. I've been doing all this reading, and there's like hostile cervical mucus and all kinds of things. And so I'm like, if I get pregnant with the HSG, I'll be so excited, because obviously I'll be pregnant. But that'll also lead me to wonder, how is it that I'm only able to get pregnant when I do an HSG? You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm almost to the office now. So that is just the update for today. So one other story I wanted to tell. So my friend Megan, as I mentioned in a previous video, I studied apparel, textiles, and merchandising. So I know a lot of gals in the fashion industry. So my friend Megan started her own boutique called Claim Clothing, and she had this dress that I'm wearing on her website for, I want to say, the last like 6 or 8 months. It's so beautiful. I'll have to insert some like full length pictures, but I've been eyeing it forever, and it's just so pretty. It's like the perfect flowy moo that would be amazing with a bump underneath. And so for literally 6 months, I had this in my cart, and I was like, when I get the positive pregnancy test, I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna buy this dress. I'm gonna wear it pregnant, hopefully in the summer. I've always wanted a summer pregnancy so I can like do the whole moo thing. And then I kept not getting pregnant and not getting pregnant. And so finally in January, I went on her website, and it said there was only like 2 or 3 left in my size. And I was like, you know what? Screw the fact that I'm not pregnant yet. I am buying that dress, believing, trusting and believing that one day I would get to wear this dress with a cute little bump. So I bought it, and I wore it today.